had a few Texans tell me that football isn't a sport in Texas, it's a religion. Hey guys, what's up? It's Kelly again, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to make the possibly insane argument that Texas and Bavaria are basically the same. I mean, they're not the same, obviously, but in respect to their own country, they're basically the same. In other words, Bavaria is the Texas of Germany. And what got me thinking about this in the first place is that both Bavaria and Texas have some unique characteristics and attributes that people tend to assign as being representative of the entire country. So for example, if you go to a German restaurant in the US, chances are it's going to be Bavarian themed, to the point where the servers might even be wearing lederhosen and dirndls. And similarly, if you go to a US themed restaurant or establishment in Germany, chances are it's going to be Western themed and make you feel like you're walking right into an old-timey saloon on the Western frontier. I think that the best example of this are the Bavarian themed cities that are all throughout the United States. Yes, these are a real thing. There are cities in the US that are completely decked out to make you feel like you're actually smack dab in the middle of Bavaria. I think one of the best examples of this, and a place I've been to many times, is Leavenworth, Washington, where all the buildings are mandated by the city ordinance to fit the Bavarian theme. So even the McDonald's and the Starbucks and the town gas station are dressed up to fit the part. And then in Germany, you have places like Old Texas Town and Pullman City, which I haven't been to myself, but they are theme parks that play on traditional Texas stereotypes, complete with people dressed in full cowboy costume. Now, when you visit Bavaria, you'll very quickly realize that people are not walking around wearing lederhosen and dirndls. But in Texas, it's a bit of a different case. You are very likely to see someone wearing cowboy boots or a cowboy hat. But in both places, you can expect to find some people who have dropped some serious coin to buy these traditional clothing items, which I think represents the pride that they associate with them. For example, I went to Oktoberfest and I met a woman who spent nearly 10,000 euro on her dirndl, and multiple Texans who have spent about $5,000 on their fancy cowboy boots. And speaking of pride, I think that this is another characteristic that Bavarians share with Texans. Absolute pride and loyalty to their home state. I can't think of another state in the US that even comes close to instilling the amount of pride that Texans have for Texas, and I get the feeling that it's the same for Bavarians and Bavaria. I had the pleasure of working very closely with a Bavarian when I was living in Germany, and he never missed the opportunity to remind me that Bavaria is the best state in all of Germany, and it was very similar to the type of attitude that I encountered when I would talk with Texans. Someone once said to me that Texans will identify themselves as being a Texan before they identify themselves as being an American. And I think that you can say the same for Bavarians. They're going to identify themselves as a Bavarian before they identify themselves as a German. Both Bavaria and Texas have seriously threatened to secede from their respective country because they feel that their values and their ideals are not shared strongly enough with the rest of the country. And on the inverse, they do not empathize with the rest of the country. There is a long history of Texas secession movements beginning all the way back from the Civil War. And in the 2000s, an organization named the Texas Nationalist Movement was created to help advocate for these efforts. When the never-ending saga of Brexit first began, a lot of Texans took it as the opportunity to revive this desire to secede from the rest of the country, and they started using the hashtag Texit as a play on Brexit. Secession talks have also gained some traction again in Bavaria, which, like Texas, also has a very long history of secession movements that have gained popularity after some notable events in history, like the unification of Germany in 1871, and then World War I and World War II. But some Bavarians, just like Texans, were energized by the announcement of Brexit, and they started using the hashtag Brexit, which is a play on the word Bayern, which is German for Bavaria. Every state in the US has its own flag, and having personally been to all 50 states, I can tell you with absolute confidence that no state comes even close to waving their flag as much as Texans wave their Texas state flag. And if you're not American and you're watching this and you think that the amount that Americans wave the US flag is excessive, I promise you it is nothing compared to how much you see the Texas state flag in Texas. And similarly, in a country where waving the nation's flag isn't exactly popular, this does not stop Bavarians from putting the Bavarian flag everywhere possible, to the point where its blue and white pattern is easily the most internationally recognized motif of Germany, aside from the actual German flag, or maybe even more than the German flag. Each state seems to already have its own language in the form of a very strong dialect. For example, a traditional greeting in Texas is howdy, and in Bavaria you greet someone by saying servus, and then it just continues from there. But perhaps more interesting is when German converges with Texan in a real language called Texas German. I hope to do a video more specifically about Texas German in the future, but for now it is a language that is still spoken in some parts of Texas where there's a high concentration of German immigrants. In fact, there are 10 towns in Texas that were established by German immigrants, and in 1990, 3 million Texans claimed either pure or partial ethnic German heritage. Let's talk about beer. Bavaria is internationally known to be the home of some of Germany's best beers. And while I wouldn't say that Texas shares this same reputation, it is home to Spotzi Brewery, which produces Shiner branded beers that are pretty well known throughout the United States. And Spotzi Brewery was actually founded by a German immigrant, Hermann Weiss. And if you look at the beers that Spotzi Brewery makes, you will definitely notice some German influence still today. We've talked about beer, so now we need to talk about food. Bavaria is known for some of its distinctive cuisine. Pretzels and sweet mustard, Dampfnudel, and Weißwurst are just a few of the hallmark dishes in Bavaria. And aside from Tex-Mex, the best known cuisine in Texas is, of course, barbecue, which interestingly enough evolved from when German immigrants would smoke leftover meat so that it could be stored to eat later. Another thing that Bavaria is famous for is its soccer team, FC Bayern München, which competes in the Bundesliga and is the most successful soccer club in German history. It has the largest fan club membership in the world and has routinely sold out its 75,000 person stadium for their games. And while Bavaria is the symbol for Germany's biggest sport, Texas is the symbol for the US's biggest sport, which is of course American football. The professional team in Texas is the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't even want to talk about them. I want to talk about how Texas has the biggest college football teams, racking up 12 Division I teams. That is insane. The next biggest are states like Ohio and California, which each have 7 teams. I've had a few Texans tell me that football isn't a sport in Texas, it's a religion, and I completely agree that that sentiment exists in Texas. And speaking of religion, I think that this is another characteristic that Bavaria and Texas share. I think both states are a bit further on the end of the spectrum when it comes to conservatism and religion compared to the rest of their countries. While on the fringes, Texas is considered to be a part of the US Bible Belt, which is a term for a region in the US where religion plays a larger role in society and politics. And in Bavaria, the Bavarian Christian Socialist Union, which is known to be a more conservative party established on Christian values, has dominated the Bavarian state government for the majority of its history. Right now in Texas, it is bluebonnet season. The bluebonnet is the state flower, and there are massive fields of them everywhere throughout Texas, and it is truly a beautiful sight to see. Every year at this time, Texans will flock to their favorite bluebonnet field to have their photos taken for every type of event that you can possibly imagine, whether it is high school graduation, college graduation, engagement photos, wedding photos, baby photos, or even awkward and hilarious police officer photos. And while not nearly as plentiful as bluebonnets, Bavaria has its own special flower, the Edelweiss. The Edelweiss blooms later in the year and is found at much higher altitudes than where you find the bluebonnets in Texas. And the Edelweiss and bluebonnet each inspired their own song titled Edelweiss and Bluebonnet. That sentence didn't go exactly how I wanted it to. But if you want to listen to these sweet melodic tributes to these famed flowers, then you should check out Amazon Music Unlimited. Amazon Music Unlimited is a subscription service that allows you unlimited access to any song, and perhaps most conveniently, it allows you to listen to music even while you're offline. If you go to the description box below this video, there will be a link for you to click on to sign up for a free 30-day trial. You can cancel anytime, and signing up really helps to support this channel, so make sure you check it out for more reasons than to listen to songs about the bluebonnet and Edelweiss. And honestly, I can't talk about Texas without mentioning Whataburger and Dr. Pepper, otherwise my Texan friends will completely disown me. Whataburger is a fast food chain restaurant that originated in Corpus Christi, Texas, and although its presence in the US is extremely limited, its orange W logo has become somewhat of a de facto symbol for Texas. And Munich, Germany is the origin of Hans Glück, which is a restaurant chain that also sells very delicious burgers, although in a completely different atmosphere than what Whataburger offers. And as for Dr. Pepper, it is the oldest soft drink in the US and was created in Waco, Texas. Its popularity boomed and soon became a favorite across the country. And Texans are very quick to tell you that Americans can thank Texas for the existence of Dr. Pepper. And actually right now, the state is trying to establish Dr. Pepper as the official soft drink of Texas. I didn't even know that that was a thing. But the interesting thing about Dr. Pepper is that it is now owned by Keurig Green Mountain, which was acquired by JAB Holdings Company, which of course is a German company. And Bavaria is home to Spezi, which was created in Augsburg. Spezi is a combination of cola and orange soda, which is a very popular flavor in Germany, and actually something that doesn't even exist in the US. Phew! Alright guys, I think that I very clearly made a compelling argument that Bavaria is the Texas of Germany. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think about my argument, so don't forget to let me know in the comments. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified every single time that I post a new video. And thank you so much, my patrons, for all the support you've given me. You guys are awesome, and I will see you next time. Bye! Hey guys, make sure you find me on Instagram at Kelly Does Her Thing. I'm always posting stories on there that show bits of US culture, German influence in the US, or glimpses of my life in DC. I'll even post different things to supplement the content of my videos, so go find me on Instagram.